Hello, I hope you all are well. It's really nice to see the growth of this channel, and it really means a lot to me that you are all watching and benefiting from the content that I'm sharing. So for today, I wanted to talk about relationships, and more specifically what happens when you're in a relationship, when you are falling in love into a relationship, and the potential risks of falling in love if you're not first in love with yourself. So I suppose many of you have had the experience of falling in love with someone and how it becomes intense, just to then either fade out or either to trigger a lot of difficult emotions and like negative feelings in the relationships, and potentially that the relationship who were once very intense and a lot of attraction and a lot of love felt for the other person, how it turns into a toxic relationship. So for all of you who have had the experience of, you are like going in and out of relationships or cannot sustain relationships, and that can also actually go for friendships. If you have difficulties to sustain relationships, this is for you to maybe inspire to some thoughts about why it doesn't work out for you, and how you can go about your next relationship where you are falling into someone, or you're getting interested in someone, how you can go about it next time. So let's look at it a bit deeper then. So this expression actually is it's a quite good example of what's happening. Like when you're falling into love, you're falling, and so you're falling out of yourself, and you're falling into the love that you feel for the other person or the attraction. And that might be like a mixture of projections, of idealization, or just chemistry. But in any case, you're falling into something. And in a way, that's like that's something that is needed, that you sort of allow for vulnerability to come, and that allow yourself to fall, and you lose control, so that you will let someone in. However, the complexity comes when you are losing yourself in the falling into love. You're losing yourself and whatever you know about yourself, and whatever is important to you, and your interests and your values, because you are so amazed by this new person that you're attracted to. So you are willing to sacrifice a lot of things in you at the start, when the chemistry and the feelings are all overwhelming and fluffy, and you just following the emotions. And we know since research, like what happens when you're in love, you sort of lose track of reality, and you are sort of mesmerized, or you sort of possessed is maybe like a too harsh word, but you are you're not yourself, and you're not rational, and that's the whole point. That's why some of us really love that state, to really be all overwhelmed by feelings, and it's a lovely state to be in. However, we know it won't last, and not only that it won't last, that it potentially can become a problem if you didn't take enough time to really get to know the person behind all the chemistry you feel with the person. You really get to know the person first, not the veil of attraction and whatever projections you have of your own wishes for what the relationship should be or turn into, or like your projections of who you want this person to be, or who you need it to be for you. Like if you fall in love too fast, then you won't have the brain, or you won't have the time to actually get to know the person, and that will become a problem. Maybe you will manage it, like after the falling in love phase, you will be able to get to know each other and you will work things out. But the risk is that it will be too brutal when reality actually comes, when the real person shows up and with all its flaws, and you also shows up, and then all your triggers, you trigger each other, and since you don't know each other, there is like no safe really connection between you. There were just a lot of emotions, but no safe, grounded, rational connections between you. Then it might be that you both will have problems to manage whatever triggers in you both, and like whatever past relationship experiences that will trigger with each other, and whatever childhood traumas, triggers that will come up between you. You might have problems to manage that together. And then you will get either stuck in like toxic loops or different roles, like which will make the relationship stagnant, and where you will potentially end up breaking up, or you will like become, you know, a bit dissatisfied but still stay together. So if you think about the relationships that has been, you know, that has lasts in your life, if you think about like the relationship that you feel safe with, like what are the components of those relationships, and why do they feel safe for you? Most likely the answer is, well, there are certain friends in my life, so certain friendships where I, you know, whatever happens, I can always call them. And many of us, you know, say that, yeah, I have this friend that we don't have like daily contact. We don't need to know about each other all the time. We don't need to update on each other all the time, because honestly, that's driven by fear. Like you need to inform each other all the time about what's happening. That's attachment, and that's fear driven. But with these some friends, you know, you don't hear it from each other for like a month or months, but then when you come back together, it's just like it always was, and you know, you feel safe to be yourself with this person, and you know each other really well, and you respect each other's space. So there is respect and there's integrity, but there is a closeness, like an intimacy where you can share your deepest feelings, or you can share what's going on in your life, and you know that it will be well received. So what's the ingredients in that relationship that is actually sustainable, and what's the difference with that relationship and like a more romantic relationship, when you first fall in love and get, you know, mesmerized and carried away by the emotions? The most evident difference is that there is a friendship in the ground. It's like a friendship, and for some reason, when it comes to like romantic relationship, we somehow view those relationships different. We see it as like something beautiful and nice to fall in love, and sure it is. However, there are potential pitfalls in it because of that. We don't make sure that first of all we get to know each other just as you would with like a more platonic relationship, or with like someone you want to become friends with. So I would invite you to challenge your belief system a little bit of what a relationship is or should be. Like a romantic relationship, there comes with so many expectations of how that should look like. And by the way, expectations is a thing that can destroy relationships. So I'm going to talk about that in another video. Like when there comes expectations in a relationship, then you're sort of screwed. Then you sort of lose yourself. Yeah. So that's another topic, like to love and to have a relationship without expectations. How would that look like? Which is not the same to just being in a relationship where you just hurt each other. That's not the same. But anyway, I will talk about that in another video. But to challenge your belief system of like a romantic relationship, why isn't friendship? Why shouldn't that be the most important? Like before all the feelings comes, like before you fall in love, the act of getting to know each other truly first, and then let things unfold. Let's see what happens. I believe that the chance of a more sustainable relationship is a lot higher than with these very stormy, intense romances, where it might feel super nice and super intense at the start, but often then reality checks in and becomes challenging. So not only to start to think about your next relationship, if you're single right now and you're looking for like a more sustainable, if you're tired of this, not having it worked out, to really cherish the containment, like in the start of a relationship, to contain yourself and to be able to get to know the person first, which is actually like a possibility for you to get to know yourself first also through the other person. Because when a lot of feelings are involved, like very quickly, then you sort of not only lose track of who the other person is, but also yourself. So again, that's the risk with falling in love, that you're falling in love, but you fall out of yourself. So you fall like in a fantasy of love, but you lose yourself, and then that will always backlash, because then you want to come back to yourself, or you're trying to be in the other person, which is not going to work, and it's will always have consequences. So I think the only time when you can allow yourself to fall in love is when you first have fallen into yourself, when you first love yourself. Because when you love yourself, then you are love. Then you have fallen. You have let go of the ideas of who you were before, and fallen into loving yourself. And if that's the case, if you've done that work first, which by the way, I'm going to release a digital course in how to fall in love with yourself. It's tough work, but it's possible. So if you've done that work, then it's much more safer for you to fall into someone else, because where you're doing it from a standpoint in yourself, instead of either only attaching to yourself and not falling in love at all, because that can also be a problem, like for people who never let go of themselves, not because they love themselves so deeply, it's because they're scared. But the same thing, like if you fall out of yourself too easily, it's also because of fear. It's because you avoid yourself and you try to make the other person make you love yourself, which is not going to happen. So do the work of falling into yourself first if you want to experience like true love with someone else that is safe and that is less dramatic. And while doing so, like really cherish and develop friendships around you first, which is a more also safer way to live about life. And I know this might sound boring for some of you to go slower, because there is a lot of romanticizing around this concept of falling in love and attraction, but really we know that we're losing track of reality, we're losing track of ourselves. And if you have like repetitive pattern of falling in and out of love, this is really for you to, next time you meet someone, make sure to get to know the person first, ask questions, answer questions, and don't meet too intensely. Let it go slow, let it unfold, and also get to know yourself either first or during this relationship, while getting to know each other. Don't lose yourself. Don't lose yourself to the other person or to emotions, because emotions are not reality. Emotions come and go. So you can never trust emotions when it comes to relationships. They come and go, they're lovely, and you should feel emotions because they contain so much information. But you shouldn't just be guided by emotions, because they come and go. And I will talk about that in another video, actually, the act to listening. How do you listen to your emotions while not being lost in them, and by not, how do you use them as guides in the most efficient way And that's basically to have your emotions, but to contain them. And then you will become a very magnetic person also, by the way. Yeah, so let me know if this resonates with you and what experiences you have had of falling in love and potentially falling out of yourself, and you know this idea of friendship first, like friendships are more important than love stories. They are more like teaching us stuff. But if you want more sustainable relationship, also potentially with someone you're romantically involved in, yeah, let me know your experiences of, you know, developing a friendship with this person. It would be interesting to hear about. And I hope you found this video helpful, and good luck with loving yourself and the other in a safe, slow way.